Good afternoon. My name is Pete Wittridge. I am the instructor for this class, Florida Laws and Rules Review. This is a 2-hour required class for the Florida Board of Massage Therapy. This applies to 2013 through 2015. This material will also be good through August 31st, 2016. I'm an instructor at the Florida School of Massage and have been a former board member from the Florida Board of Massage from 1994 until 1997. It is my intention for you to have an excellent class, to learn some things about the current Florida laws and rules, and for you to have the opportunity to read and review some interesting facts about what's happening in our field. I will do some screen shares with you. I will have some materials available for you as download from a Google link. And what I would very much like to do is to be sure that you find this class interesting and informative. I'm going to do a variety of slide shares with you and try to help you be able to have a variety of ways of interacting with me. So first things first, I'll show you a little bit of some of the materials. There is a booklet that is available to you, and when you see this booklet, it is approximately 58 pages. So instead of printing it out, you would have the opportunity to look at this as a Google Doc. Digital is the way to go in terms of saving and sharing some documents, so I'd love for you to be able to have that. This will give you many pages of information about the Florida law, some commentary from me, and of course at the beginning are all the highlights of some of the changes that have been going on. So I'm going to scroll down here just so that you can see in the booklet. I give you hot links for the renewal, for the fingerprinting, all kinds of information for the statutes and rules. Helpful for some of you to have an actual copy of those so that you can refer to them. Also, as we slide down, you'll see that we have a whole beginning portion that lets us review some of the new changes in the law, fingerprinting, photo, proof of graduation, a whole variety of things that are here. And then once we get down to the actual review materials, you'll see that what I've tried to do is provide you with a good overview of what it is that the Florida Board and the statute and the rule are saying to us. Many times when I talk to people regarding the Florida laws and rules and I ask them if they've actually downloaded them or have a current copy, many of them say they don't and are just looking for straight up information from me. So what I would say to you is you're welcome to make contact with me, but generally when you are making contact with me, what I would really hope is that you've done a little bit of work for yourself and begun to actually looked at the statutes and rules yourself and come to me with a very specific question or a need for clarification. So for instance, I've highlighted some information in the Massage Practice Act, some of the areas that we would really pay attention to as we go through this class, and then also have provided a commentary. I've been doing this class for many years, and so at the end of each commentary, you'll also notice that I have reviewed the materials and still find it applicable for what we're doing here. So I'm going to hide this a little bit for now, and I'm going to slide share another document for you, and that will actually be my presentation. And part of what I'm hoping as we get this, that you understand that there's a tremendous opportunity for us to learn a little bit more about the law, really identify where some confusions are, and look towards the future. So many of you know that the Florida Board of Massage is made up of 7 members. They're all appointed by the governor. and there are a few people who are not allowed to be on the board based on some rulings within the architecture board and even the chiropractic board regarding people being continuing education providers or school owners. It's my opinion that there are very strong reasons to have people who are talking about and regulating schools or continuing education have input into these sections. Also, the board meets on a quarterly basis, and they also meet by conference call. In this particular year, because of the fingerprinting issue and general relinquishment of licenses, there have been monthly conference calls, and but the quarterly board meetings have been jam-packed with discipline and a variety of other things. So if you ever have the opportunity, I think it would be very helpful for you to attend a Board of Massage meeting. Board of Massage meetings are available on the website, and after a few slides here, I'm going to take you to that board website to remind you about renewal. So in this next slide, you are taking this class because you need to do a Florida requirement, 2 hours of laws and rules. Many of you are taking this class after the renewal period and may be needing to fulfill some requirements for a delinquent license. I will be updating this video as we go through into 2016 and adding some information to this as we go. We do have a current fee of $105 for renewal. This is all done online through a renewal system with the Department of Health. That online system requires you to use a username and a password. That username and password are unique to you. If for some reason the board hasn't sent you some information or a reminder of that by mail on a postcard, you are welcome to use the phone number to identify yourself and be reissued a password or username. Also, the password reset system also asks you for some basic information and would allow you to do a reset without talking to anyone. One of the things that I think is very helpful is just a quick reminder of the requirements. There are 12 in-class hours that are required. These are hands-on, massage-based, anatomy-based, history-based. These are in-class hours with an instructor present. At some point, the Board of Massage will talk about and consider doing webinar presentations like this or live streamed information, and may consider that as a form of continuing education. I personally think the digital world is here, and we need to use all of the resources and not have a tremendous restriction on people who may or may not be able to travel or spend the money to travel to go to classes. Then, of course, there are 6 required hours. 2 of them are these Florida laws and rules, 2 are in an ethics class, and 2 are in what's called the prevention of medical errors. And then there are 6 optional hours. Those hours can vary from being in things like business or risk management or some kind of insurance billing. This rule is actually under review, and the names of those optional classes may be eliminated and just give people a wider option of what they're going to take. There will still be considered CPR for continuing education. So here's just a quick review reminder. Massage and bodywork, anatomy, history of massage are the in-class requirements. Laws and rules, prevention of medical errors. Many people take this by distance learning. They may take it by correspondence. I also hear from therapists all the time that they much prefer to attend a class and interact with their peers when learning this information, because massage therapy is fairly isolated profession. You're in a room with one person for many hours in the day, maybe seeing 3 to 5 or 7 clients. And so that personal interaction with other therapists tends to be fairly important to people. So 12 total in the 6. One of the great pieces about this is there are some pro bono requirements or provisions so that you could actually work with somebody or a group of people who are underserved or indigent population. You would have to actually physically apply to the board to do these pro bono hours. So it takes a bit of planning on your part, but I think it's an excellent option for many therapists who wish to provide therapy to their community. While you may provide 10 or 50 or 25 or 100 hours to people, you're only going to get 6 hours of pro bono credit for your renewal. Also, there is a provision for attending a board of massage meeting. I happen to do this method myself. I get my 2 hours of ethics and 2 hours of law whenever I attend a day's worth of Florida Board of Massage meeting. I find the meetings stimulating and helpful for me to know more and more about the law. It's also interesting to see the cases that come up in front of the board and any of the current issues that the board might be dealing with. There is one provision as well that if there is an emergency disaster massage or working with the emergency response teams could be considered for continuing education. Of course, these can't be pre-approved. We can't kind of pre-plan for disasters. So when a disaster happens and you do some work, you can apply on a form to the board demonstrating that you've offered massage therapy services in the disaster. So I think what I'll do here is I will stop and we will come back to a slide for looking at the Board of Massage website. And when we do that, the Florida Board of Massage website is very much available to us. Florida laws and rules. Let's see if I can get a better one for us here. Here we go. See what happens. All right, well, I will pull up the Florida Board of Massage website in just a few minutes. One of the things that's helpful here as we're thinking about our Google Docs and our renewals, the Florida Board of Massage has required everyone to get fingerprinted and background checked. And for many of you, this has been an issue. Sometimes you've gotten a letter saying that your fingerprints were illegible or that they didn't receive the fingerprints. Everyone in the board office knows that this is an issue. I don't believe there will be a tremendous amount of resistance to helping you to renew, since many thousands of people have been affected by this. So as we think about what we're doing here in terms of the fingerprints, what I would say to you is keep calm, continue on, and comply with the rules and laws. If for some reason they didn't find your fingerprints, you would have a record for that. That's called a TCN number. T as in Tom, C as in cat, N as in Nancy. And you should have gotten that when you actually did your fingerprints, and you can provide that as your proof. Many times when people are dealing with the Board of Massage, they try to phone call and talk with somebody. This is a very old method of trying to get a hold of the board. If you've heard from the board, it's usually by email, and phone calls to the board can be absolutely frustrating and crazy making. So my suggestion to everyone is, if you have been communicated to from the board, that that email would be your contact person for your case, and that you would continuously email that person to keep a physical record, and mostly because the board staff has been doing some changeover, and I think it's important for you to have a written record of your various communications with the board. I would be happy to be an intermediary for you. Of course, you would have to do a bit of work for yourself, take care of some issues on your end, and if for some reason you're having trouble communicating with anyone at the board, I have attended many board meetings and have a personal relationship with various members of the staff. So I'm happy to help you, but again, that's not a blanket help. It is a help for you to have done a bit of work. Let's see if we can do a little screen share here. What I'm hoping to find for us is now the booklet. And as you see this booklet, one of the great parts about this booklet is it has hot links on it. When we are beginning this booklet, my wife and I have been doing this for years, so we would love for you to see what we're doing here in terms of this update for the 2015. You'll notice that there's information in red. The Board of Massage has a very new website. We will take you there in just a moment. The fingerprinting information, all of this has forms that are attached to it. There is an actual form for you to take to the office, so that when you are getting your fingerprints, they would put your TCN number on there. Also, the privacy letter needs to be mailed in. And then, of course, many of you are establishment owners. If you are a licensed therapist and an establishment owner, you only need to do one set of prints. It is my understanding that you would need to send in 2 sets of forms, one for the establishment in a separate letter and one for your therapy. Also, when we begin to do the renewal, it will be very helpful for us to take a look at the renewal forms. And if I could just stress this enough, Chapter 480 of the Massage Practice Act should be something that would be kept in your digital files. Also, Chapter 64B7, these are the actual laws and the rules. Many times when I am looking for something and needing some information, I'm looking at the rules of the board rather than the statute. So let's see if we can look at the board website here and begin to have some basics of what the website looks like. And the website has been updated quite nicely. All the spacing is really good. So when you're here, you could hit the renewal button. We are actually on the renewal page right now for licensed therapists. It gives you the basic requirements. It gives you the process. It gives you the fees. It gives you what your CE requirements are. And of course, one of the great things about this renewal period, and very helpful, is that you are not going to be able to renew until you actually physically have completed your CE hours. I believe this will weed out a large number of people who consistently don't take continuing education but renew their license and don't get audited. Many of the audited records are from out of state, and it's my knowledge that people actually take no CEs but renew their licenses and just go through the world as if they won't be audited. In this new method, everyone is audited, everyone has to have their continuing education in, and this has worked quite nicely for the physical therapy board, the nursing board, and since massage therapy is part of the healthcare practice in the state of Florida, these rules do apply for us. Also on this page, you can see that here is the same kind of download information for the statutes and rules. So what we would actually physically do is we would go to an online sign in. This is a different page than the Board of Massage. You would select your profession, you would put in your ID, and then you would put in your password. I have renewed, so I'm not going to go into the details of this, but I would like for you to see that there is information about your continuing education on this side. Also, if you are locked out of your account, you can physically give some basic information without having to call someone, and then you could also do a reset. So where you are logging in, only you would know this ID, and also the password, you and only you would know the password. Okay, now if I were to go backwards just a little bit and remind you that as we look at this board meetings section, the next board meeting will be September 9th. It will be a phone conference, and there's a phone conference call-in and a participant code. What we will also see is that there will be a probable cause committee meeting on September 17th, and then a physical board meeting on October 22nd. And a FAR notice is the regulatory notice announcing the meeting and proposing agenda. So when I click this notice for the upcoming meetings, you can see that the meeting in October is in Fort Lauderdale. The FAR notice comes up when I click on that, and essentially it's a government requirement to have a notice and tell people when this open record is. When I click on the notice, I'm not going to pull that down. I don't want to pull that down. Okay. So you can see I'm using a live internet link here. Lots and lots of ways for us to interact with information from the Board of Massage. I think that one of the great pieces of this website is the lookup feature, and we can also do complaints. So I'm just going to go to the lookup feature. I think it's very helpful for any of you when you are looking at a massage establishment or a location that you look up and see if there's any outstanding or any problems with a person's licensure. You'll notice that many people in my family are massage therapists. My wife, my mom, my brother. I come from a massage therapy family. So this would be a way for you to truly see who has been doing what. You can see that what we say is public complaint, no. Clear and active license. If you see somebody who has a public complaint, you would be able to look at this section and see what the section is, where the complaint was, and be able to determine if that would be a place that you would actually want to work with. I think that the license lookup issue is a big deal, and I think it's very helpful. Also, many of you, if you're working with the Board of Massage website, need to be able to do complaints and be able to actually do some kind of enforcement. So you'll notice that there is an enforcement number here and a ULA email. Also, what we can do is you can make a complaint against a healthcare practitioner. We can also do ones for unlicensed activity. We can also do one for inspections. Many of you will want to do something in terms of unlicensed activity. There's a tremendous amount of unlicensed activity in this state. People who are saying that they are Reiki practitioners or members of a religious order or some such thing that they don't believe that they need a massage therapy license to practice the healing modality that they're doing. And I will tell you, as a former board member, any forms of touch that are intended for health and wellness of the client, and there are fees exchanged for that, whether that's a donation or some kind of trade or barter, these do constitute grounds for discipline. If you are also hearing about somebody who may have touched someone inappropriately or operating a clinic space that is out of compliance or has grounds of discipline, this would be what's called a UCF, Universal Complaint Form. This is actually a PDF form that can be filled in online and saved. You'll notice that there would be sexual contact, insurance fraud, abuse, impaired practitioner, patient abandonment or neglect. This would be the kind of thing that you would fill out, or maybe even your client could fill out. I've had a number of people who have come to me as a former board member and told me that their client was sexually touched by another therapist. This would be grounds for discipline, and that therapist could have disciplinary action taken against them. Of course, that can't happen unless a universal complaint form goes in. So all that being said, I think that you get an idea of the Florida Board of Massage website. There are information and resources for you about the board, of who's on the board. I guess the other one thing I would say to you is the board is a volunteer position, and the governor's appointment office is always taking applications from licensees. You'll have to be a therapist for at least 5 years in the state, and then you could apply to the governor's appointment office to apply for the Board of Massage positions. There are 5 licensed massage therapists and 2 consumer members. So as you're working here, please consider that possibility. I'm very happy with this page. This has been a long time coming in getting the Board of Massage to have a functional and excellent website, and they have an excellent consistency going here through all of the boards. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing that, and we will head over here. And part of what I always like to do when I'm doing these classes is to just be sure that each of you takes a little bit of a responsibility. You don't want to be the massage police, but you really want to be sure that in your region, in your area, that the group of you, whether you're members of the massage therapy associations or just particularly interested therapists, that you help support each other and be sure that each of you is looking out for the other therapists, looking out to be sure that there's not a lot of unlicensed activity in your area, and communicating with your newspapers and your television crews and advertising locations that massage therapy is licensed by the Department of Health, it is part of medical quality assurance, and that it is a health and wellness practice. There's lots and lots of confusion regarding sexual activity and massage therapy, and I think it will be incumbent upon us as local therapists to teach the public in our region the effectiveness and the appropriateness of massage therapy for pain, for sleep, for range of motion, mood, quality of life. So please take some time as a busy therapist to do some local promotion and help people in your community understand that massage is not sexual, non-sensual, and is a health and wellness practice. All right, so I think I'm going to bring us back to this screen share with the booklet. And as everybody gets to see the booklet, one of the places that I want to just kind of bring us back to for reiteration for the changes within this renewal year, you'll notice that in 2013, the legislature amended or changed the Chapter 480 to include some things about nuisance enforcement and causing massage therapists to be restricted in some of the time frames that they are actually able to practice. To me, limiting practice from midnight to 5 o'clock in the morning doesn't really seem to affect most of the massage therapists that I talk to. Many people who work in a legitimate massage establishment have their hours till about 8 o'clock or 8:30 at night and then go home and are with their families. So some of this legislative process came through because of some problems in the Tampa Bay area where the sexual activity and illicit prostitution goes on quite extensively. Tampa is a what we would say a convention town, a town where people are traveling and they're away from home. So there are a variety of strip clubs, there are a variety of escort services, and then of course there are a variety of midnight massage parlors. And so the Tampa legislators asked to amend the Florida Chapter 480. You can see all of that information in the bill if you take a look at the hot link here. And I will tell you that many people are unaffected by this. The Tampa police seem to think that it has helped them be able to crack down on some of the prostitution. And if that is in fact true, then I am very happy that the Tampa Metro Police and Sheriff's Department feel more empowered to crack down on places that are pretending to be massage therapy locations and are really fronts for prostitution. Also, and this is just a reminder because this became effective in 2013 for this renewal, and many of you have already placed a photo on your license. Many of you have been inspected, and if you didn't have a photo on your license at your establishment, you were told to do that or face disciplinary action. So what I would say to you is this is a 2x2 photo. It must be a current photo from within the last 2 years. There's very little description of what's required in that photo, but it does say that it needs to be a headshot, 2x2. So what I would also do with that photo is I would personally put that photo on my license. I would put that behind a frame, and I would hang that frame on the wall. Some people are laminating their licenses with the picture inside of it and putting that on the wall. If somebody were to want to steal your license and you made it very easy for them, that could create a bit of trouble for yourself. Of course, you are responsible for maintaining the privacy of your license and protecting the ability or the protecting from fraudulent representation of your license. There were a whole variety of schools that actually were providing fraudulent transcripts. So in 2013, the proof of graduation rule was created. This rule has created some problems for organizations or schools around the country when they are sending transcripts to the Board of Massage. What I would say is it's very easy with any kind of printer to create some kind of documents or mimic someone else's documents. So I think this proof of graduation on a counterfeit proof paper is a step in the right direction. The board also has developed with the Florida approved schools a secure email document share, so that when a school graduates their students, they send an official list with the official transcripts securely encrypted, so that when the board gets it, they can match up names and transcripts. I think that this would also be available to schools from out of state if they were trying to send a transcript for someone who was wishing to transfer into the state. And I think it will be very, very helpful for us to prevent fraud. I'm going to just remind us that this rule came about because a couple of different schools around the country. One of the schools was the Florida College of Natural Health. We're providing fraudulent documents to people who came from other countries or other states and needed to qualify for licensure in the state of Florida. There was a school in New Jersey that created a tremendous number of fraudulent documents that led to people getting their licenses in the state of Florida, and due to fraud, those licenses were then suspended. The board did an emergency suspension order. All I have to say about this is that the transfer credit process has been taken in-house by the Board of Massage. Someone on the board staff or the board members are now reviewing transfer credit applications and counting hours, determining if a therapist from another state meets the requirements for this state. All right, and then you know that the CE hours are verified. We've talked about that a bit. The one other addition that you can do here is that you are able to self-report your classes. There are times or issues where maybe a massage therapy instructor, CE provider has not given your hours to the CE broker system. Because the system is a 100% compliant system, there is a way for you to physically report your own hours based on the information on the certificate that was given to you. It is required by all CE providers approved by the Florida board to report their hours within 90 days. I know some people will be taking their hours close to the very end of renewal. I personally will stop teaching classes about the 17th or 18th of August, and will not be doing any classes at the end. I know a lot of people are procrastinators, and the system, the actual computer system for renewal, will be inundated as we get closer and closer to the end of July. I am well aware of people who are trying to renew their licenses at 11 o'clock on August 31st, and if the system fails for you and you go into September 1st, you will be put into the delinquent status system, and then you would actually have to do pay a fee and a fine and prove your continuing education, and you may not be able to practice for quite a while. So get those CE hours in, do the work that you're supposed to do. Now, I think this is one of the hottest topics in our world, is fingerprinting, and I will tell you that I had a very smooth process with the fingerprinting. I attended one of the Massage Therapy Association meetings. We were fingerprinted for about $80. We took a picture, the fingerprints were taken, I was given a transaction number, and then I sent my materials back to the board, my privacy notice and my copy of my TCN number. There is also a lookup list that the board has been providing to therapists to be sure that they are on that list. I know that that list is numerical, so my number was below 10,000, and when they first created the list, I think they were listing 10,000 and above. So the board is aware of people's need to check the record, and they have done everything that they can to provide information that shows that you have completed the task. I'm also aware that the FBI has sent letters to people telling them that their fingerprints were rejected or unreadable, and that they were able to have their fingerprints redone at no charge if they met a certain time date. And I know that those letters actually have gone out past that time date, and it's my understanding that the providers are supposed to give you a complimentary fingerprint record again because of problems with communications. This has been a very big issue within the whole Department of Health, and no one is going to lose their license because they didn't have their fingerprints if they, in good faith and attempted to do the fingerprinting. I know that there's a lot of people who are hyperventilating out there regarding this fingerprinting and are stressed out, and what I would just remind you is that it's your intent to meet the law. You actually physically went and did the fingerprints. You have proof of that. There's nothing that you can do other than that, is to show that you, in good faith, tried to do that. So the other unclarity for a lot of places is regarding massage establishment owners. And what I would say to you is, if you are renting from someone and they are the owner of the business or a principal of the corporation or officer of the corporation, then the person who is the owner of the establishment must also have a background screening and fingerprinting. This could mean that many of the officers have that, or it could also mean that just one main officer needs to do that. And then finally, and these, I'm not quite sure why these were really put into the Board of Massage rules as part of the Department of Health. I know that other boards have also had this inserted into their statutes as well. I think it has a lot to do with human trafficking and the issues that we're facing as a country regarding illegal entry into the country. Also, to me, this also seems a bit like trafficking in people for jobs that are not necessarily in the massage industry, but are more in agriculture, hotels and restaurants, and also sometimes in shipping. Of course, massage therapy is also a location where people are brought in to perform sexual services, and we also see this in the beauty industry, in the nail and pedicure manicure industry. So it's not surprising to me that the legislature has tried to put some of this information in here, but it doesn't seem like it really applies to most massage therapists. I mean, if you read this list, related to kidnapping, false imprisonment, sexual battery, deriving the supportive proceeds from a prostitute, lewd and lascivious activity, relating to computer pornography. So what I hope is each and every one of you educate yourselves on some of the signs and symptoms of human trafficking. This is a very big issue in the retail and restaurant business, and also within agriculture. Okay, and then I guess one last final piece here. If you need more information about the fingerprinting, here is the Board of Massage number, ORI number, and again, this is a informational section within my little booklet here. So let's stop sharing this, and what I will share with you is back over here. All right. So this screen share, as it comes in, should give us some basic reminders in terms of some exemptions to the law, and to give us some ideas of some things that you want to think about in terms of where you actually practice. You will be asked when you do your renewal, where is your primary place of practice? It's very clear to me in letter O that practicing massage at a site, location, or place which is not duly licensed as a massage therapist, a massage establishment, is grounds for discipline, except that when you're working at the residence of a client, the office of a client, at a sports event, or at a convention or trade show. So many people ask me questions about this. This is going to be based on very specific questions that I would ask you regarding whether or not you needed a massage establishment license. Sometimes I also call those a MEL, massage establishment license. So if you are working at the office of a client and the client happens to be a hair cutting location where you're working on the people who are providing nail services, manicure, pedicures, facials, haircuts, and you are working on those people at their office, you do not need to have a massage establishment license. Once you start working on the clients of those people, those office workers, and you are starting to work on the public in that same location, you would need a massage establishment license. So of course the operating factor here is whose office is it, and when you are working on them, are you working on them at their office? It's very clear that you could work on anybody at their home. And then we can think in terms of what is a home. I happen to live in South Florida, and there are a variety of condo communities, gated communities that are around me. And most gated communities or condo communities have communal facilities that are part of their home, like a tennis court, like a swim pool or gym or golf courses. And many times there are locker rooms or community spaces where everyone has access to them. They are charged fees or reserves for maintaining that property, and so this is also considered that person's home. So I think it would be very reasonable for you to think, well, this is a condo association and I'm going to the person's condo. I could work at their condo. It may also be that you could work downstairs at the gym facility and provide massage therapy to all of the residents at the gym without having to have a massage establishment license. Where it becomes controversial would be when you are working with people who come in from the outside, who are from the public and are getting massages. Now, I'm not really talking about friends and family who are staying at the condos, but rather you have an example of a location in Fort Pierce called Ocean Village. Someone can drive in from Fort Pierce Beach and go into Ocean Village, know that you could provide massage therapy, come in for a walk-in treatment, and get a massage. That would mean that you would need to have a massage establishment license, and that there's a very simple process for doing that. Personally, I think that if you're providing massages at a place like that, it would probably be in your best interest and your best professional interest to have a massage establishment license so that you can establish your control over the space. You'd be able to hire other people or contract with other people to be there. And I guess the other thing that would be important is that you would probably want people from the public to come and see you, especially as you gain a reputation in town. So there's a $350 fee for the establishment. It has a 2-year requirement. You must show insurance. But I think it would be very beneficial for you to think about having an establishment license. The next place that people always ask me about are trade shows. What is a trade show? How do I define a trade show? And so here are my thoughts. A trade show is temporary, like at a convention center. It might be a Friday, Saturday, Sunday event where indeed you work with a promoter or some group that is doing an event, whether it's a boat show or a home show or a bridal show, and you contract with the person who is promoting that, and you have a booth and you promote massage therapy. This could be complimentary massage therapy, or it could be paid per minute. You would not need to have an establishment license to do this. Of course, there's lots of variations on this. People have asked me about if a farmer's market or a flea market is a trade show. And what I would say is, if you are there on a regular basis and people from the public know that they could come and receive a walk-in treatment, then you probably need to have an establishment license in that location. If you are there on a temporary basis, short-term basis, even just a few weeks, maybe from Thanksgiving to Christmas, promoting your business, giving complimentary back and neck and shoulders massages, I would suggest you probably don't need an establishment license. So each of these issues is kind of a case-by-case basis. If your intent is to not to have a massage establishment license and you are going to have a year-round business somewhere, that seems like grounds for discipline. If it's your intent to have a short-term contact with the public in a trade show or convention like atmosphere or sports event atmosphere, those look like very legitimate ways to be exempted from the massage establishment requirements. Those of you who are working, many of you have massage establishment licenses posted on your wall. You know that you actually have to have the picture and license of all the people who are working there, and you probably actually have a card or the name of your inspector. That inspector usually comes out in the same month that you were issued your massage establishment license. Sometimes you're seeing them come out from the county health department. Sometimes you're seeing them come out from the Department of Health. It depends on the county, depends on the workload. For quite a few years there, it was strictly coming out of the Department of Health. You also know about the human trafficking information. Some of you have been seeing signs in Spanish and English and even Korean and Japanese regarding human trafficking. This is the problem of our age. If you actually take a look in many of the war-torn countries, people are leaving countries in droves, trying to get away from the violence, try to get away from the problems in their own countries, and they are paying people to bring them to Europe, to the United States, and then those people are victims of human trafficking, mostly because they don't have papers, they don't have passports, they don't have money, and so people are taking extreme advantage of each person who's doing this. All right. So there's a variety of disciplinary actions that could take place, and one of the things that you would hear about maybe on the news would be an emergency suspension order. This happens quite frequently in the Board of Massage regarding sexual activity or sexual touching. We have seen a variety of cases come up in some of the franchise massage locations where a client has been sexually touched by a male therapist, and that client then goes to the police, goes back to the massage franchise, and the therapist is arrested. In my town, in Port St. Lucie, just south of us, There was a young gentleman who decided as he was working at the gym that he would leave his phone on movie mode so that when the therapists or when the clients were taking off their clothes, he would have moving pictures of them disrobing and robing. So what I would say is once the board gets the universal complaint form and once the board goes through some preliminary activities, they may find that this person has violated the Practice Act and do an emergency suspension order. Um, the people who received fraudulent transcripts and subsequently received licensure from the Board of Massage also received emergency suspension orders, suspending their licenses, putting them on notice that they were under grounds for discipline. Also, the board can revoke a license. Many times this happens at a board meeting. In an informal hearing. Sometimes this happens in a more in front of an administrative law judge, but mostly if someone is coming up in front of the board, one of the results could be revocation of their license. We've seen many times where someone has come in and provided sexual activity, maybe to the police or some undercover agent, and the police have filed the complaint, and the person has come in front of the board to plead for leniency or that they didn't do it or something along those lines. I personally have voted to revoke a variety of licenses. The big issue in this renewal is voluntary relinquishment. Basically, what you would be doing is sending in a letter to the board saying that you no longer want to maintain your Florida license and turn in your actual form. There are lots and lots of people who, when they actually do a background check on themselves, realize that they might not actually qualify for licensure, or that they didn't actually disclose something in their past, or they had a DUI in the last 2 years and didn't report that. So we're having tens of thousands of voluntary relinquishments. And then, of course, the board can provide fines. They can also do probation. So lots and lots of ways to deal with this. Sometimes people get letters of reprimand or letters of censure. Sometimes people are put on probation, and what they really need is a monitor. So sometimes the board creates a monitoring system. All right, so what I would say to you is you can see that unlicensed activity, sexual activity, fraudulent activity, and insurance fraud are the biggest areas of problem for us. And you'll also notice that Southeast Florida and Central Florida tend to be our biggest problem areas regarding some of these. So this just gives you an example of the areas that we have problems, and compared to the Department of Medicine, massage therapy is number 2 in unlicensed activity. All right. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a little break here, and what I'd like for you to do is to just take a short time, step away from the computer, and give yourself the opportunity to take a rest. And part of what I'm going to do is put up a slide share that brings us back to our booklet and give you the opportunity to just take a short break. All right, welcome back from your break. I think what would be helpful is for us to take a look at what the statute says in a variety of things, scope of practice and short title, things like that. And I think it's just helpful for you to have gotten your own copy of the laws and rules, Chapter 480. It's probably 12 or 15 pages that you could download, and you could actually see kind of some of the things that we're talking about. When I talk about Chapter 480, I talk about the Massage Practice Act. That is its short title. And for those of you who are history buffs, the Massage Therapy Board has been in existence since 1943. I happen to know some folks who have parents and grandparents who were massage therapists back in the 40s, and I've actually seen some of their documents and their licenses. So to me, as a historian, I have a degree in history. I find it quite fascinating to be a profession that we actually have quite a bit of history. So here we are. The legislature recognizes that the practice of massage is potentially dangerous to the public, and that massage therapists must have a knowledge of anatomy and physiology and an understanding of the relationship between the structure and function of the tissues being treated and the total function of the body. And then this is a very important line. Many other states use this line as well. Massage is therapeutic, and regulations are necessary to protect the public from unqualified practitioners. So when I was a board member, what we always looked at was protecting the public, that there are people out there who may or may not be qualified practitioners, who may or may not be preying upon the public for therapeutic services that may or may not be beneficial for them. This could include people who practice Reiki or no-touch types of therapies. This could be people who call them structural integrationists or reflexologists or any other type of therapist who wish to be exempted from the statutes. There are a variety of states that have allowed Feldenkrais practitioners, Alexander practitioners, reflexologists to be exempted from their statutes. In the state of Florida, we believe that all structured touch is a form of massage therapy. Generally, when you question the people, they're actually putting somebody on a massage table or on mats and pillows on the floor and manipulating, moving, touching their skin and their body systems. And so also getting paid for that. This would qualify someone to need to be a massage therapist. I think one of the areas that is very clear for our scope of our practice is in Chapter 433 under the definitions. And many of you learned this in massage school. Some of you, schools that I used to teach at, were required to actually practically memorize this just so that you could clarify for yourself whether you were working in the scope of your practice. So in paragraph 3, it says, massage means the manipulation of the soft tissues of the human body with the hand, foot, arm, or elbow. So this is a sentence in itself. And then, of course, it says whether or not the manipulation is aided by hydrotherapy, including colonic irrigation, or thermal therapy. And then there's a semicolon. Any electrical or mechanical device, and then a semicolon, or the application to the human body of a chemical or herbal preparation. So here we are, where we have a practice, a body therapy practice, where we're manipulating the soft tissues of the human body. And as we do that, we are able to use and add a variety of other things into the therapy. For instance, we could use water, we could use heat, we could use electrical or mechanical devices, and we could apply chemical or herbal preparations. So in the new world of chemical and herbal preparations, there are something called CBDs, and those cannabinol-based oils are being applied to people. And I want to caution all of us that this is an unregulated industry at the moment, and just because it says you can apply a chemical or herbal preparation to someone doesn't mean that you can safely know the reaction from the person, whether it would be dermatitis or some kind of inflammatory response or allergic reaction. So if I were a therapist and I were presented with the opportunity to put CBDs on somebody, I might hesitate and consider trying those out onto my own body before I did it with someone else. All right, so what I would also say is most of these definitions are pretty self-explanatory, and what I will do is kind of move into some other areas. I also give some definitions and some outlines about scope of practice and give a couple of examples here. For instance, if I was thinking about scope of practice and you have a variety of training and education and skills in other areas. For instance, you are a nurse or a physical therapist or a fitness trainer. You might be able to use those skills in your massage therapy practice. And sometimes it's better to acknowledge that you're having a dual license and provide physical fitness training separate from your massage therapy. It's really going to be based on your ability to defend yourself and your ability to respond to any complaints against you. There are many, many people who are nurses who came to massage therapy that have extensive backgrounds, and I would never suggest that someone who has another medical license wouldn't be competent to use some of those skills in identifying signs and symptoms or problems when providing massage therapy. If somebody is having heart problems, or if somebody has low blood pressure or problems with their medications, I think it's very appropriate for a nurse or even a massage therapist to make some suggestions and refer them out. All right. Also, just in terms of if I were to have disciplinary taken against me regarding the scope of the practice, I would look at grounds for disciplinary action in 480.046. And letter G gives us a really good standard to work with: being unable to practice massage with a reasonable skill and safety by reason of illness or alcohol or use of drugs, narcotics, chemicals, or any other material as a result of any mental or physical condition. So sometimes we're asked to deal with not just scope of practice issues, but professional issues. And every board, whether you're nursing board or PT board or occupational therapy board, this type of inability to practice with reasonable skill and safety comes in question a lot. There are people out there who are functional alcoholics who must drink to maintain their equilibrium. I know in the spa industry or in the hospitality industry, people drink alcohol at work. It would be very inappropriate for someone who's a nurse to take a break and go have a few beers and then come back into the hospital. The same thing holds true in massage therapy. If you are working in the morning and go out to have lunch with a few of your colleagues, have a couple of beers, and come back and offer a couple more massages, I would find that grounds for discipline. And yet also, we could also think in terms of drugs, whether it's some kinds of antipsychotics or antidepressants. I don't know how to define chemicals or any other type of material, but I would think that these would be potential issues regarding the safety to practice. So be aware of that. Also, I've seen a couple of cases that have come with gross or repeated malpractice, or the failure to practice massage with that level of care, skill, and treatment by a reasonably prudent massage therapist. And so gross or repeated malpractice looks to me like doing stretching work on somebody who is a frail or elderly client, and that person uh, has a problem walking or is injured because of the stretching protocol that you did. If you are charged with gross or repeated malpractice, generally you would have an expert witness who would come and testify against you, would have similar amount of years and experience as compared to you, so that they could determine if what you were doing was acceptable under similar conditions and circumstances. And being a prudent massage therapist means that you don't always do what you want to do, but do what's best for the client. That would mean sometimes not working with them, sometimes sending them to another practitioner for a medical referral. There are a lot of clients out there who are on tremendous medications that may be interacting with each other, and offering them a massage, putting them into the parasympathetic state, may not be very beneficial for them. So I'm going to slide down here a little bit. And remember, we talked about the MELs. I gave you some good examples of why or why not you would need an establishment license. There are a variety of exemptions within the statute. There's a lot of overlap. 458 through 464, 476, 477, and 486 have to do with barbers, cosmetologists, and nursing. So there's a lot of overlap. I would say tremendous potential for us to have dual licensure. People who have previous healthcare experience, are tired of working in a healthcare setting but really want to continue to help people, may go to massage school, use that license to touch to also help people in their qualities of life. So number 4 is really the full explanation for this. An exemption granted is effective to the extent that an exempted person's practice or profession overlaps with the practice of massage. And below I give a couple of examples, but I think the best example is someone who is a cosmetologist or an esthetician. They go to massage school, and not only do they now give a great pedicure, manicure, but they use a reflexology model to work on the hands and the feet. Or when they're doing hair cutting, they give the person a nice scalp massage while they're doing a shampoo, and then also maybe address some tight muscles in the trapezius. So we have talked about the border massage. I'm going to move on from there. I would say to you that board members are have important responsibilities. They need to disclose any potential or actual conflicts of interest, and essentially this is a volunteer position. When we look into licensure and endorsement, since this is a review class, it's pretty clear to me that all of you have had your license, you're above 18 years of age, have gone to a massage school, and had some kind of examination. What happens, though, is that there are people who come from another state, and they might want to get licensure. So there's also some rules here regarding colonic irrigation. And then when someone comes from another state and they have an active license and they practice in another state, the board has jurisdiction and is authorized by the legislature to create some rules regarding that. All right, and then I'm not going to really talk about apprenticeship programs because apprentices are kind of on their way out. So we've talked about licensure renewal, and you can see that this is a very short rule, but it also has a tremendous amount of information in the rule chapter. And so you can see I've also given the rule chapter 64B7 28001 through 10. And so from this little bit of 5 sentences, 6 sentences, the board was authorized to create a whole rule chapter regarding biennial license renewal. And essentially, what I would say to you is you are meeting that requirement. When you do your actual application online, you'll be asked to your place of practice. Many people overthink this. If it's your intention to have a practice that's a mobile business, it's perfectly acceptable to put your address of record, like your home. If you have two establishments that you work in, you can choose which one that you would like to be your place of practice. It doesn't matter if it's more one place or more in the other. You may feel more comfortable getting mail or identified at that one place or another. So please don't overthink this. Just answer the question. Then, of course, I think most of you understand that biennial period is September 1 from an odd number year to August 31st of the next odd numbered year. Long ago, probably 6 or 8 years ago, we used to renew in January. So it was January 31st was the end of the renewal, and February 1st was the beginning of the renewal. This could be variable. In the future, the Board of Massage or the Department of Health may change the rule and change our renewal biennium for their convenience. So in the section regarding display of license, I know that each of you have put a picture because we've talked about this. And the piece that I just want to always emphasize is that you should keep these protected. Just because you have to display them doesn't mean that someone could be able to take them off of your wall. So if I were you, I would somehow laminate or frame my licenses, put them behind some kind of a conspicuous place that they can be seen but not be able to be snatched or photographed or stolen. This could be a big issue, especially if you live in an area where there's a lot of fraudulent activity. Once somebody has what a license looks like with some control numbers, they could probably start to guess and figure out how to develop a license for fraudulent use. Okay, same thing with massage establishment. One thing that a lot of people don't understand or have forgotten is that you could actually photocopy your license. When you do photocopy it, it does say void on it, but I will tell you that you can still use that as proof of licensure. Many of you will also have a wallet card that would also be proof of licensure. When the inspectors come, there is a kind of a bit of a challenge when someone who's a therapist doesn't actually have their ID inside the building. There are some rules regarding human trafficking that we've talked about, and so I would recommend that all of you, when you're working in your location, to have your ID and information, you know, whether it's your driver's license or your passport or some other form of ID in the location where you're working. Of course, most of you don't leave your purse or your wallets in your car, but I think that I have heard of a variety of situations where the person did not have an ID. The inspector came to do an inspection and requested positive ID that the person was who they were. And they were not able to produce that. This could create an issue for you, so take care. So then we've talked a lot about continuing education. You can see that this is the rule. You'll notice that it's from 64B7-28009. So here's the actual rule. You'll notice I've highlighted some areas that I think are important, and you'll notice that the section here is that you can actually get 2 hours of ethics and 2 hours of law by attending a Board of Massage meeting. These rules here in section 3 are under development. Instead of naming this particular kinds of classes, it's going to be a more generalized description, and so it would be up to the therapist and the person who's a CE provider to put that into that other category. We do know that CPR will be continued to be acceptable as continuing education. So here's a total. We've talked about this, we've seen this. The pro bono system, I think, is very, very important for all of you, and I would encourage some of you to take advantage of this. There are hot links in here, and be able to determine, where, who, and you'll notice that the high requirement here is they're indigent, underserved, or in an area of critical need. So just because you've picked the Rotary Club to donate a few massages to doesn't mean that they are indigent or underserved. It would be a better opportunity for you to work with maybe a Veterans Administration program, or a homeless shelter, or a women's shelter. Those would be places that would be indigent or underserved. The other great thing about this is that you can plan ahead for the pro bono. We are coming to the end of a renewal year here, since it is August 2015, but you would have a 2-year period to apply and use those pro bono hours in the 2015-2017 renewal year. All right, and then of course there are many, many questions about who's an approved provider and who can do this and all of that. So what I would always say to you is, you should always check your hours, talk to the person who's offering the hours. If they're a national NCB, TMB approved provider, that would work. Approved massage school, Florida Board of Massage Therapy, FSMTA, or the AMTA. These are automatically approved. That doesn't mean that those courses have actually been put into the CE broker system. You may have to self-report some of these hours, but you will be able to receive hours for that. All right. So we have reached about the section on the examinations, and this is a big issue in our world. Many of you know that there's something called the Federation of State Massage Therapy Boards. That Federation of State Massage Therapy Boards is made up of state boards throughout the country, 36 or 38 of them. The Florida Board of Massage Therapy is a member, and the Florida Board of Massage Therapy uses the Massage and Bodywork Licensure Exam, also known as the MBLEX exam. Why I'm talking about this a little bit is some of you took a licensing exam many, many years ago. You did a practical. Then that was changed to the National Certification Exam. And then that has been phased out, and now we are using the MBLEX exam. People who are transferring to the state who have taken and passed the MBLEX exam still qualify for licensure. There are people who are in the transition phase to the state of Florida who are licensed in another state and didn't take the MBLEX exam or the NCBTBM exam, but they took a state exam, like in New York. Many of those people will qualify for licensure, but it will be on a case-by-case basis. The transcripts will be reviewed by the Board of Massage staff or board member, depending on the needs of the staff person. And the person who is transferring will need to take a 10-hour laws and rules class, qualify regarding the number of hours, clinical hours, for massage therapy, have taken a prevention of medical errors class, an HIV/AIDS class. Very many of the items that you had to take to get your license would also be required for them. Now, the massage establishment requirements, we've talked about this. People need to be fingerprinted, all of those things. And what I would say is that you can see these rules that we were talking about went right into the establishment requirements, and I find it a little bit distressing, but I'll just have to deal with it. Now, Section 13, right, indicates very clearly, and this has been kind of gone back and forth and back and forth, so I just want to highlight this for you. If a physician licensed under 458, 459, 460, who employs a licensed massage therapist to perform massage on the physician's patients at the physician's place of practice, this section does not restrict investigations. And one of the things that we also want to see here is that you don't need to have a massage establishment if you are the employee of a physician of 456, 458, 459, or 460. So that means you're not an independent contractor. You're working very specifically on the patients of the physician. This gets confusing for people because some people are independent contractors. They're paying rent, providing all their own equipment. Then you would need to have an establishment license. All right, there's a whole set of rules and about the operations. This is actually a part of the checklist for the Board of Massage inspectors when they come out. They are looking for bathrooms, they are looking for toilet tissue, soap dispenser, hand cleaning materials. The one thing that I always remind people, if you have a whirlpool bath or sauna, you must also provide showers. Then, of course, there's a whole listing of what needs to be there, whether it's a fire extinguisher, cleaning materials for the tables, clean drapes. It even defines what drapes are, and then hand washing facilities. So over and over again, people ask me about this, and I always say, write in the rule. Very specifically is the checklist, and when you look at the pink sheet and you look at the checklist in the rules, they match up just about exactly. When we talk about establishments and we talk about periodic inspections, I talked about this a little bit, but I want to just stress it. If you have a license and you got it in June, you will probably get your inspection in June. If you have a license and you got it in April, you will probably have your inspection in April. The inspector has the right to come at any time. If you are a single operator and you lock your door because you don't want people wandering into your office, the inspector will have the ability to leave their card and communicate with you and ask to set an appointment with you. It's not against the rules to physically lock your door, especially if you're a single operator. Don't be concerned. Don't be intimidated by an inspector who can't come to see you. Can you transfer your establishment license? Of course you can. You would actually have to pay a fee. You would send some information to the board, and you would maintain your number and the name of your establishment. This happens on a regular basis for people, and the board has been very much trying to provide quick turnaround of establishments that are operating legally and needing to move quickly. So sometimes they've even been authorized to allow the operation and transfer without having an inspection, and then authorizing an inspection at the convenience of the inspector and the establishment owner. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing all this and just give you a visual of me again. I think it's really helpful as we have progressed through here that each of you have the idea that my goal for you is to be better informed about the law, and whether you're looking at the handout, the 50-page handout, or your statutes and rules, everyone is responsible for their practice and the people who are practicing for them. So as a massage establishment owner, if something unsavory is happening in your rooms, you need to take action. You need to be responsible for that, and you need to be sure that you're monitoring who's operating in your locations. ignorance is no excuse when we're thinking about the law, and if you're in doubt, you should be checking it out. I know of many operators who've said, I just even was uncomfortable with this person, they were paying me rent, and I decided to not renew their licensure or their contract with me. I think this is a very legitimate thing, and each and every one of you have the opportunity to make a complaint against someone, and in that complaint you can say what you think. I think it would be much more important for you to have an individual dialogue with the person, to give them some feedback. You're uncomfortable with how the sounds in the room are, or that they're operating when you're not there, and it will be it's your license and you are responsible for what goes on in there. And if for some reason something illegal or dangerous happened, you could potentially be held responsible. All right, so I think this would be another great time for you to take a break. I'm going to put up some final slides for the PowerPoint and give you the opportunity to just take a short break. All right, well, we're back, and I just wanted to highlight and remind you of some disciplinary guidelines. Notice that this letter J says delegating professional responsibilities to a person when the licensee delegating such responsibility knows or has reason to know that such person is not qualified by training, experience, or licensure. This happens a lot in chiropractic settings. This also has been known to happen in massage therapy settings where someone is a receptionist and they are busy practice, and all of a sudden they have a walk-in client and the receptionist ends up doing a treatment on the client. So we know for a fact that people who are unqualified practitioners are providing massage therapy services under the guise of being a team player or being told what to do, and being an illegal activity. So what I would say, just as kind of final pieces, recently the Board of Massage decided to think in terms of some rule development regarding the continuing education, and also schools and the level of education, whether it's 500, 600, 1,000. So please be aware of that. Take a look at the agendas for the board meeting in October. If you want to volunteer, that would be very helpful. There are differences between legislative actions and rulemaking actions. Legislative action has to do a lot with this, the HIV requirement or the human trafficking, whereas the rulemaking have more to do with what was authorized within the statute. So, for instance, the display of licensure or the pro bono were an initiative from the actual board. I would say to you, when we come into 2016, there will be more issues regarding health insurance and Medicare and Medicaid, and that may actually affect us. What I would also say is that the boards in other states are trying to work together so that we can have more portability. We just finished up an educational congress in Minneapolis. Most of the organizations were well represented there, and our big issue is portability. Finally, If you have an NCB TMB certification, you've probably been presented with the opportunity to become board certified, and then also at schools there is a whole development around, instead of being programmatically accredited, that you actually have your curriculum reviewed and qualify for something called endorsed curriculum. So I'm hoping that as we've gone through this class, that you have seen that there are issues within our field. Licensure, single licensure could lead to portability, but each of the boards needs to work together to have some kind of smooth process between the states. The National Certification Board has identified a variety of specialty certifications that they will be pursuing: oncology, massage, teacher certification, probably working with some of the other established certifying groups like Traeger or orthobionomy. And then I also hope that each of you do more than enough in terms of your professional development. Instead of just taking the minimum, you use the potential for professional development as a way for you to live your lifestyle. These can be written off as tax deductions, the travel, the books, all of the ways of you're getting documented for some kind of certification or further professional development are all ways for you to enhance your lifestyle. So as we go, I'm glad to hear from you, and we will have some quiz questions and some dialogue as we finish up this. I need to give you my last contact info here. You'll also know that I have a Dropbox, and in that Dropbox you will have the opportunity to get all of the materials from this class. All right. Thank you very much. Glad to have spent this time with you, and I am going to sign off. After this, you will have opportunity to take the quiz, and you'll have opportunity to take a look at a variety of the materials. Thank you very much.